maybe a little more, but we have to evacuate the place by 2:30, so the time is very short, very limited. We'll try to make the best use of it, inshallah. Now, the discussion, as you will see, will focus on some case studies of how to divide the inheritance. But, you know, even your quiz, the quiz that you took was basically case studies. Huh? The most difficult? Okay, you know what? This quiz was, I told you to read 2 chapters, right? 2 and 3. But I wrote the quiz only from chapter 2. I did not use any material from chapter 3. So, just to make it easier. And like half of the questions are based on the 3 ayat from Surah An-Nisa, which is the ayah about the daughters, the ayah about the wife and the husband, and the last ayah of Surah An-Nisa. Okay? So if you understood these 3 ayat, khalas, you would have answered most of these questions. Anyways, so now inshallah we can discuss some of these and related matters. And as an introduction, I would say the following. First of all, it's important for a person who pursues a career in chaplaincy to have some background about inheritance and will writing, but he doesn't have to be an in-depth knowledge as like other subjects that we are discussing, because later on he can do additional research and study if he is faced with specific cases. But at least the basis should be there, and he should be able to access, or he should be able to access the material that they need in order, from correct sources, in order to resolve the cases that they are dealing with. The other matter is that the law of inheritance, the Islamic law of inheritance, is different from other laws of inheritance. And a Muslim should be able to tell of the difference and what is common, what is different, and should be able to pinpoint the differences in case he has to in a court or in resolving an inheritance problem or case. The other thing is there are many people in the West who neglect writing their will, or they write it in a very superficial manner. And this would not help much in many cases. If the will is not properly written and well knit and correctly based on the Islamic law of inheritance and correctly notarized and copies made and saved in secure places, if all of this is not done, then it would be as good as not writing a will at all, or as bad as not writing a will at all. Okay? So the will has to be written in such a way that it is respected by the authorities in the West, whether it is America or Britain or Australia or South Africa or any other Western country. Okay? So it should be written in a way not to challenge their laws because they have established laws, but to indicate that this is the law that we want to go by. And how can you enforce this when they have already established laws? It is by telling in your will that I want my will to be conducted, my estate to be divided according to the Islamic law. But this is not acceptable. Because if people have done like made written wills like that, where they would say, I want my will to be divided according to the Islamic law. But this was rejected from them in the will by the judges who handled their wills. Why? Because they would say, where is the Islamic law? We do not know the Islamic law. What makes it better than the law of the land? So we will go by our law. But if he or she, the person who writes his will, specifically says, I want it to be divided in the following manner, and then he gives a detailed description of the way that his estate is to be divided, then this will be respected as being his will. Okay? Because wills are respected if they are clear and unambiguous. Okay? So it's very important that a person in the West writes a will, and that the will is correctly written. Now, the book that was, or booklet that was distributed to you, and it is also included in the back of the book on inheritance. In this book or booklet, I tried to do just what I told you. And that was based on the study of many wills written by Muslims, by Islamic organizations, and by non-Muslims. Okay, so I used to go to bookstores in America and buy wills that are ready to be filled and see what I can benefit from it that is missing in my will form. Okay, so this will, as I said, is according to the guidelines that I mentioned, including the fact that it contains the complete law of inheritance in Islam. In just this small booklet, this book is summarized in like 2 pages in the will. The table of shares, if you look at it, it would be, I don't know in the booklet which page, but in the book here, chapter 4. Anyways, most people don't have the book with them, maybe. But if you just got the will booklet, so it's in the will booklet. Okay, it's on page. What's this page? Page 12 of 14, yeah. And as you see, the pages in the bottom are numbered according to, together with the total numbers, so to indicate that this is part of the will. Okay, so that it would be respected like the rest of the will. So it summarizes the full law of inheritance in one table, which personally I haven't seen it in any book in Arabic. And maybe Sheikh Ahmad, because he had a recent study of inheritance and stuff, maybe he can go over it and see whether there is something equivalent in Arabic. But as far as I know, or as far as I searched, I couldn't find anything equivalent to summarize the whole law of inheritance in one page. Okay? So this makes it incumbent on the judges or people who are dealing with or executing the will that they go by the Islamic law as is summarized here. Okay? And this will, while we're talking about it, has a place at the end for notarizing, for signing, so that it becomes official. At the end there is an appendix, and the appendix is extra tables that you often need to include in the will. And I've seen, I think Brother Abdullah Rida sent me a PowerPoint that he gathered, which contained will supplements like these that you have here. These supplements are somebody. I mean, I was like in the last day or so, I got so much material that I cannot now remember where I got it. I saw that in. But anyway, these tables are sometimes very important, very vital, that a person keeps track of his rights and his commitments, his debts. It's very important. Like, if he owes anything to anyone, even if it is not something material or tangible, but something that could translate to material, like for example, copyrights or certain rights to a certain thing that would have some monetary value at some point, then this should be included, because if these are not included, they may get lost, because your heirs may be unaware of what you left, here and there, in this country, in that country, in this drawer, in that cabinet. They will not know. Okay, they may sell the cabinet and it has maybe some jewelry that you were saving for them. Okay, and so you need to write all what you own in these tables, and then all what you owe to others. Okay, and what else? There are other.
Explain this table a little bit.
These tables.
No, the inheritance table. that's all of inheritance law.
That's all the law. The full law of inheritance is summarized here. It tells you who are the people who inherit, who have the priority in inheritance, and who have lesser priority, who inherit if the others are not present to make hajib, to curtail them, or what other word they translate for hajib, I'm not sure. Cut them off. So if these are not there, then the others will come next. And then if this with this, what would they get? If this is not present, then this will get something else, and so on. So as you see, all the conditions are written on the sides, in the body of the table, and underneath in the footnotes. So it takes. But if you read it slowly from the beginning, from the top, you will start understanding it and taking the hang of it, getting the hang of it. No? Yeah. So this is for writing the will, and I really urge everyone, including myself, to keep a current will, because sometimes we are lazy. We say, I wrote a will, and it takes time, it needs some, concentration. But we are forced to do our taxes, especially in the West, every year. And this is more important than taxes, because if we do not have a good and current will, then our money will be lost. It will be lost to the state. It will be highly taxed, and will be divided according to the way that they think is appropriate, not to the way that Allah knows is appropriate. Okay? So with this introduction, in the remaining time, we are going to go over some guidelines. Where's the beginning of this? Just examples regarding inheritance. And like I said, some of the questions in the quiz were similar to this, but they did not include all the parts of the will, of the inheritance. But if you know the answer to one of the questions, then you know what happens if others come with him or with her, and so on. Okay, so we have examples that were distributed to you by brother Dr. Yusuf, and I want to also compliment brother Abdullah, because he made a PowerPoint that you do not have time for it. I went through it all, and it is very useful. Some of the pictures are a little fuzzy, but otherwise it is very useful, and maybe it can be mailed to you, inshallah.
Posted online.
It has been?
No, we'll do it.
It will be posted online, because also it is a good summary of the law of inheritance in a PowerPoint in about 15 or 20 yani sheets or slides of PowerPoint. Okay, including case studies. Okay, it has, I think, 2 case studies at the end that you can also benefit from. And also it has reference to some videos that you can watch. Okay, so example, it says, Yunus passes away, leaving a wife, a mother, and a son. The share distribution would be straightforward and distributed in the following manner. Okay, what do you think? A son, a mother, a wife, a mother, and a son. Are these standard or non-standard heirs? All of them?
Son is not. Son is
Son is a asib, but is he a standard heir or non-standard? Yeah. All of them are standard. Actually, as the Sheikh said at the end, which we did not translate, he said the son is the strongest heir of all. Okay, so he has the highest priority to inherit. Anyways, you have a son, a mother, and a wife. What do they get? Think a little bit, among them yourselves, or discuss with your neighbor. Oh, you have it actually.
Yeah, these are models, it's there.
These are mothers.
Okay, just quickly to make it a bit challenging. Why does the wife get 1/8? Why does the wife get 1/8? Raise your hand. Yes, sir. Because there's a son. If there was no children, she would get how much? 1/4. Okay, so that's the first one. Why does the mother get 1/6? Somebody else? From the sister's side. Why does the mother get 1/6? From the sister's side.
Yani as contrary to 2/3, to 1/3.
He gets 6 because there's a son, and the son is older.
But if there's any children, then the mother gets 1/6. If there's one child or more, the mother gets what? 1/6. Likewise, if there's two siblings, like a brother and sister, two brothers or more, or
multiple siblings.
Multiple siblings, then the mother gets 1/6. In this case, because the mother, there's a child, which is the son. Mother only gets 1/3 or 1/6. Or 1/6. The mother never gets other than 1/3 or 1/6. Okay, and the son gets
the rest.
The rest.
She normally should take 1/3 if there is no son.
The mother, if there's any children, 0 children, and there aren't 2 or more siblings, then she gets 1/3. That's when she gets a third. If there's 2 or more siblings, or 1 or more children, then she gets 1/6.
What about only one sibling?
One sibling, she still gets 1/3. She has to be 2 siblings.
Okay.
Okay, next.
No.
Yeah, here the mother gets 1/6 is correct. Why? Because there's one son. We said any child, 1 or more children.
And it doesn't have to be a child of hers. Yeah. As long as it is a child of the deceased.
Of the deceased, yes.
Yeah. And he could be a child from another mother. Okay. Let me ask you something regarding this question or this case, the first simple case. Is there a situation where the son will get less than the mother or the wife? Yani, can you think of a case related to this, but the son gets very little compared to the mother or the wife?
If there are other sons and other sisters.
Yeah, exactly. If there are lots of children, yani with the son, like she has 10 sons, then each one will get definitely less than 1/6. But the 1/6 and 1/8 are secured for the mother and the wife.
That's fixed.
Yeah. Okay.
Next one.
Yeah, next one. It's more readable on the screen, so you can read it. If you...
Okay, Jamil passes away leaving his wife and 2 children, a son and a daughter. The share distribution would be straightforward and distributed in the following manner. The wife receives 1/8, and the son and the daughter share the remainder at a ratio of 2 to 1. Okay? Again, the wife gets 1/8 because
There are children.
there are children.
If they weren't, she would take 1/4.
Right. Since there are children, she gets 1/8. One child or more of the deceased, even from another wife or from anybody else, gives her 1/8. The son and the daughter get the remaining with a ratio of 2 to 1. So how would we do this? Let's say there's $8,000. So the wife gets 1/8, which is how much? 1,000. What remains? 7,000. How would we split this into shares? How many shares do we need this to split this into? Into 3. We take the 7,000 divided by 3 will give us what each share equals. Okay, so 7,000 divided by 3, that will be what's given to the daughter. And the son will get double that. Okay?
Good.
And
How do you work that out?
take a calculator and take 7,000, which is the what's remaining after you give the wife 1/8.
Okay, so there's 3 daughters and how many sons?
Okay, so right now it's 1 daughter, 1 son. One daughter gets how many shares? 1. The son gets how many shares? 2. That's a total of 3 shares. So you divide the amount remaining by 3.
Yeah, that's right.
So 2,000? 333.33 and 1/3, okay? It's for the daughter, and double that for the son. So if there were 5 sons and 5 daughters,
15 shares.
that would be what?
15.
15 shares, because each son gets 2 shares, which is 10 shares, 5 times 2, and 5 daughters each get 1 share, which is 5.
So that's 15.
So you divide it by 15 and give the daughter 1 of those, and the son double, each son double. Okay, next one.
Okay. Aisha.
Aisha passes away, leaving her husband, her mother, her father, and 2 children, a son and a daughter. The share distribution would be straightforward and distributed in the following manner. The mother and father each receive 1/6. So 1/6 for the mother, 1/6 for the father. Why? Because there's a child or more. Okay? Second, the husband receives 1/4 of the assets. Why? Because there's a child or more. Otherwise, he receives 1/2.
Otherwise, he would take half.
There are no children, he'll take half. Third, the remaining balance would be split amongst the children, where the son receives twice the shares of the daughter. So let's say we have $24,000. The mother would receive how much of that? $24,000. $4,000, which is 1/6 for the mother. And how much for the father? 4,000. That's 8,000. What's remaining? And then 1/4 for the husband, which is 1/4 of 24,000. 6,000. 4 and 4 and 6. 14,000. 8 and 6. 14,000 from which gives us how much remaining? $10,000 remaining, right? You divide that by how many shares? We have 2 children, 1 son, 1 daughter, divided by 3. Okay. Good. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Now we'll do the cases?
Yeah, let them do the big one. That would take time.
The one that we just did it?
Yeah. No.
the first
no,
one.
Yeah, just let them spend
The words
10
complicated.
minutes. They have it.
Okay, now if everyone opens up the case studies,
In the group.
case study 1, discuss it with your group and see how it's done. You have 10 minutes for case 1? You have 10 minutes for case 1 to look at it and see how it's done. It's one model, the answer is there, but look over it and see how it's done, because you're going to do case 2 by yourself.
We didn't have case 1 or 2.
You should be in a group with these guys, yeah, boy. Group.
6 people in a group?
Yeah.
How do we see?
You have to collaborate. They're scared of each other, no?
To Yusuf. His sister called Sophia. She said she would not receive her copy of the
Yeah,
inheritance.
there's one sister. I said what, to my wife to make a note of whoever did it. I think there's somebody else who wants an extra copy. That's a different model.
Yeah.
You have more?
I have.
Alright. Good after.
So what's the question?
That's the
I
one.
have it here.
Yeah.
Where is it? It's not here.
Here.
What is it?
Just look at the details. And the woman dies. The woman dies, leaving a husband, a son, and 3 daughters. Leaves a bequest consisting of 1/8 plus 1/7 of her estate to a stranger. She is 24,000. A stranger is 1/8 plus 1/7 is 15 out of 56. Taking 41 out of 56. She's a point of what remains. Fourth of 41.
Yeah, I read this before. So what is it required?
This is, no. This shows you one, and the second one, go through it. It's a different case, but it's different numbers. And
They
different.
are solved. Both of them.
No, we solved this one. It's not solved. They don't have. They have the answer for number 1. They don't have the answer for number 2.
They have this.
Yeah, but they don't have number 2.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that we did it on the computer. That's one where they have to figure out themselves. These are the answers. 91 for the Muslim, father, son, the daughters. So how do we go over case 1? Just go over it.
It's like different, so it shows again the different ways of doing it. This one they do it into 12 shares. Our other one's slightly easier. But I think this is a good way. It's clear really, the ratios. The math. Three, right? Yeah, $3. Yeah.
How many?
$3.
And 1 son?
Yeah, 1 cent because it's double. The map of this number is okay.
These are all easy cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of the awal and I was gonna give them some awal. It's awal and ruds, but I did not have time to make the copies to the
This
printers.
is basic, but that still takes some
Yeah.
getting around. It's really
It's good enough for beginners, this stuff, because
I told Brother Bilal, the PowerPoint outcome of 16 videos, each video 10 minutes. Brother Majid, like you, I think he's running the center over there, and background is math,
this one, 145?
fiqh, inheritance, degree, and software developer. And it's alhamdulillah. So I told him with the voice, if you go, because we need to credit him. It's not the PowerPoint. That's without voice. If you listen to the voice, that's why I put you the link.
Yeah, I didn't have time.
Inshallah, if you get the time, 16. If every day you listen to 1 or 2, then if you credit that, we put it. However, I went through all of them. That's why this night listening and trying to do the PowerPoint. PowerPoint, it's his, not mine. It was useful. I keep it with me.
Yeah, keep it with
All
you.
the teachers, they use it.
Yeah, keep it with you.
Now, when you need to
No, we don't need it. No, we don't need it.
MashaAllah, they are active.
Yeah.
1:30, so we have 60 minutes.
I can see it.
What are these about?
This is his a thing of a will that he had.
Oh yeah, I saw this too.
He wants to go through it.
That's where I saw all these.
Yeah.
But I said I have tables for now and then. Yeah. That's it.
That's how they go in.
Yeah, this is another will, but it's much briefer and not comprehensive because it doesn't have all the Islamic law in here.
I give all the residue of my estate out, which will be paid to my fiancé at my death, and any property which I have at my death and any property of appointment to my trustees on trust to sell, call, and convert money. Which is your hold upon on trust. I guess he throws that off to a trustee who takes care of it. Where does he say that the trustee will give the inheritance according to Islamic law? I record to have regard to general funeral wishes residue estate. Really?
Wait, I remembered, I have this.
Okay, just try to wrap it up, inshallah, in 1 minute. We'll just go through it. You guys ready?
Usually you need two copies. You need two copies for the notary.
So, it's going to take 26 minutes.
Okay, do you guys want 1 more minute? Who's ready? Raise your hand.
Who's their husband?
No, he's not here.
Oh, I asked you before.
Yeah. Yusuf. Where here does it tell the trustee that to distribute the inheritance according to Islamic law? Where does he tell the trustees to distribute the inheritance according to Islamic law? These are the funeral wishes, right? Guardianship. I think registrar estate and this. And
This is one that's been designed in the UK.
Yeah, very general, huh?
It's a charity that's in Islamic.
So you're trusting that your trustees are going to distribute that according to Islamic law, right? Okay.
Yeah, my will actually was reviewed by people in
If
the
you have,
UK.
you can put yours up and show it.
Oh, right.
You want?
Yeah, I said if you have an example of the US one you have, you can go through it.
Yeah, this is, I mean, they have the whole
Okay,
thing.
so you can walk them through it.
Summarize it.
It wasn't done in the
I
lecture.
don't think so. Just summarize the book. Don't go through it in detail. In 10 minutes, tell them what it tells you, what each part consists of. Ask them that.
I don't think we'll have time.
Okay, inshallah, we'll go through this one together. If there are any questions at the end, you can raise your hand and we'll discuss it, or from the sister side, so that you'll be able to do the second case study by yourself, inshallah. So everyone, please stop talking and pay attention. Thank you. We have a woman who dies, leaving a husband, a son, and 3 daughters. She also leaves a bequest, a wasiyah, consisting of 1/8 plus 1/7 of her estate to a stranger. What does a stranger mean here? Someone who does not inherit, he's not a standard heir. She leaves $224,000. Calculate the shares of her estate that go to each of her beneficiaries. They'd like you to use math to just complicate things. Like 1/8 plus 1/7 will go to my best friend, Fulan, okay? 1/8 of my estate plus 1/7, that's what she wrote. An 8th and a 7th. He did this to make you think in math, to test your math. Because it might be 1/8 to Umar and 1/7 to Layla. Okay? But let's assume it's 1/8 plus 1/7 to a stranger. It's all going to Umar.
Doesn't matter.
Or to Layla, doesn't matter. She leaves 224,000. Let's calculate. First, we start off with what? The wasiyah, the bequest. It's within 1/3, then we're okay. 1/8 plus 1/7 is how much? 15/56. That part you have to know from basic math, adding fractions. 15/56 is less than 1/3. Is that true?
Yeah.
So we're okay. We don't have an issue there. That leaves behind 41/56 to be shared out amongst her family, the heirs. Okay? The husband receives 1/4 of the remainder. So 1/4 of 41/56, which is 1/4 times 41/56, 41 out of 224, over 224. The son and 3 daughters receive their shares in the ratio of 2 to 1 to 1 to 1, meaning the son gets 2 shares and each daughter gets 1 share. How many shares is that total? 5. So the son gets 2/5 of the estate after the stranger and the husband have been given their bequest, and each daughter's share is 1/5. If the total estate is 224,000, the shares received by each beneficiary will be, first, the stranger that doesn't inherit will get 15/56 out of multiply that by 224,000, which gives you what?
It's this is very complicated.
60,000.
This is a complicated way. You can do it an easier way. You're
There's a
right.
much easier way to do it. and I
There's an
think-
easier way to do it. That's true. You can do it any way you want as long as the answer is correct. Okay, but this is the way they chose to do it here. So this is $60,000. The husband gets 41 out of 224. Multiply that by 224,000, which is 41,000. The son gets 2/5 of the remainder, which is 224,000 minus 101,000. So why is it minus 101? It's the total of the stranger and the husband. That's the remaining money. 224 minus 101, which is what? 1, 2, 3. 123,000. 2/5 of 123,000 is 49,200. And each daughter will get 1/5 of the remainder. Same thing, 1/5 times 123,000 is $24,600. If you add each one of these up, 3 times 24,600 for all 3 daughters, plus 49,200, plus 41,000, plus 60,000, it should all add up to 224,000. There are different ways to do this, but now do you get the general concept of how it works? Is there any questions from the brothers or sisters side?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say a simpler way is to just subtract the bequested amount, and then the rest start over as a new
Right.
as a new amount, and then divide it by giving 1/4 to the husband.
Also, you just figure out what the shares are, and you divide it by the share.
But the shares are at the way end. So for example, we said 15/56 goes to the stranger. That we have to do. You figured that out. That's 60,000.
The way I did it was, I took the full amount, right? Yeah, and then I worked out, how much was a 7th of 224, how much was an 8th of 224, added them together, right? By dividing by 7 and by 8.
Yes.
Right? Then I took that total, took it from the total, and then I divided the next one by 4, which makes 25%.
That gives you the husband.
Yeah, and then I took that away from the total, and I divided the rest by 5.
Right. And
That
give
gave me
two.
the girls ones,
Yeah.
Right.
and then double that for the
Right.
for the
So
boys.
there are easier ways to do it, like the way Brother Ayub said. Is there any questions? Yes. No, it's not the always precedes the rest. The ones who have a specific share, 1/3,
I think
2/3,
this
1/4,
can check.
those you take care of them. The ones who have the remainder,
It's accurate.
those get it at the end.
This is
Okay? So first we start off with the wasiyah, the bequest. We give them their money and then find out how much is remaining. Then we give all the people who have a specific fard, like 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 2/3, a specific fraction, give them theirs and see what remains, then give it to whoever the shares for the son and the daughter.
So those people, you can basically summarize them as the spouses and the parents?
The parents, the spouse, if it's only, this goes back to what we studied, Ashab al-Furud. It could be the daughter by herself gets 1/2, 2 daughters by themselves gets 2/3, and so forth. Yes? Yeah, go ahead. Raise your voice, please. Okay, the third example from before, okay? Okay, that's a good question. Who gets the remainder? The male relatives. The first thing we start off with is who? Who's the strongest from the asaba? Is the son. Then his son, the son, the son's son, the son's son's son, until there's no sons. If there's no sons, then we go to the father. He's next in order. If there's no father, the father's father. Then the brother from both parents. Then the brother from the father. Okay? Then the son of his brother from both fathers. Then the son of his brother from the father. Like this. Then the father's brother. Then his sons.
So how did you deduce for that example 1/6 to the father?
Because in the Quran it says, if the father, if there's a son or a daughter or any children, he gets 1/6 automatically. It's fixed. If there's a son, he'll get the remainder. If there is no son, the father will, and just a daughter, the father will get the 6 and any remainder. فإن كان ولأبويه لكل واحد منهما السدس مما ترك إن كان له ولد. Yes.
If a woman dies, leaving behind only
By the way, if the sisters have a question, just tap the mic so I can call on you, inshallah, you can ask.
if a woman dies, leaving behind only daughters and sisters, how will they get the portion?
Okay, daughters and sisters. Who knows? Okay, we have a lot of scenarios. Let's save this till the end. Let's go through these cases, finish your case, go through the will, and then if there's any general questions like this, let's save it to the end, or otherwise the time will go to these types of questions. Alright? We'll save that question to the end, but don't forget it. Sisters, any questions regarding what we discussed so far? Okay, let's go on. Are you ready for the case study? Number 2. Okay, begin case study number 2. Work with your group to figure it out. You have 10 minutes.
She dies, leaves a husband, 1 son, and 2 daughters.
questions? Go ahead, sister.
We're done.
Okay, great.
Relax about it. They did it already. Answer is coming. Ahmed's going to do it. They will focus on project topics. See if they finish, because they said they finished.
Sisters, if you finish to take care of your project titles, we will come back to you, inshallah.
Yeah, you give the, they have to give.
Please make sure you give the groups for the project titles to Mr. Ma'id. We need them today, all the groups. So if you finish this case study. Sorry? Sorry?
They want to give the answer.
No, just wait a few minutes because the brothers are very slow and very bad at math. They need a lot more time. So just be patient with them, huh? We have the moral answer. Sheikh Ahmed will go through them with you in about 5 minutes. So you don't waste time. Just ponder about your project titles, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I need to almost right. The answer is there.
Okay, so don't waste time. This is the word that the man he gave it to us.
Yeah, I saw it.
So just
Yeah, they're all the same.
online
But it doesn't have over there yet.
You heard with this. I have a feeling that we dictate this is natural because we know we are meeting our needs. We need to listen to others. So you spoke with the librarian? They are a little bit upset. So in the morning I said there was some negligence from our side, especially the females. They were leaving their seats. And that day, the owner of the library came. His son was born. So why will I and you and Joseph arrange a meeting with this guy? Because we don't like in the background. Instead of us speaking to him, I think he appreciated him make an offer because he's the owner. He knows that he's doing a great service for Muslims in the West. He tried to bring us, inshallah.
Inshallah, Allahumma yassir.
Because in the future, we like to build a good relationship with him.
Where's Ahmed?
Ahmed is doing salat.
He mashallah. Alhamdulillah that he came. I told him I'm tired. It's better that he came.
Alhamdulillah, Michael came also. Because I said to Yusuf, don't worry about translator. Brother Muhammad is there. This week we have. And I read your message. Alhamdulillah. But we can, but I'm happy now he has more control. Confidence and
Why should say the strangers? Say strangers, not as strangers. Yeah. Makes more sense then.
Yeah. I think it's to one person. Ati, Zaid, and someone was super. Just to make tabrats.
Yeah, that makes sense, bro.
did you introduce the UK case?
Not yet. But he's gonna just go over his will. It's more details.
What we need, especially if they have in the Western, they have any question. Because what you said, Brother Muhammad, it needs to be notarized by the government also.
Yeah. Because they respect it. No, it's notarized by notary public. And then that's That's enough.
Last year I knew that in his state, they recognize the let's say, format book. But still it need to be notarized.
Yeah. Once you fill it out, then somebody has to go over it. It's not a problem. Easy. Okay, Assalamu alaikum. Brothers, are you done?
Yeah.
If you're not, we'll still continue. Inshallah, you'll follow along. So I want everyone to stop talking, please, and pay attention. All right, guys. 1, 2, 3. Let's begin. We have to keep going. I know everyone wants to finish this. You can take it home for homework. And there are thousands of examples. You can spend the next 3 months solving inheritance cases till you become a pro and a master in inheritance. Shabab, thank you very much. Okay, from each group I just want one answer to see if you're correct or not. Can group number 1, Ahmud's group, tell us what you got for the stranger. Let's call him Zaid. 98,000? Does everyone agree to 98,000?
No, 91.
91. Okay, 91,000 is the correct answer. Okay, group number 2, up here in the front, Abdul Rafi. What do you guys have for the father?
But the female finished first. We should start with them.
50,750. Okay, the sisters, what do you have for the son? And 25. And each daughter gets what, sisters?
Did you say father or husband?
30,062 and a half. We said, no, we said the father first. Is it the father or husband? No, sorry, the husband. The husband is 50,750. Good, okay, so that's the answer. The stranger gets 91,000. The husband gets 50,750. The son gets 76,125. And each daughter gets 38,062.5. Who got the right answer? Raise your hand. From the sisters, how many groups got the right answer? One group. Three groups. All groups got the right answer. Okay, good. So let's just take a look at the answer real quick. So we have 294,000. Step number 1 is the wasiyah. The bequest is 1/7 plus 1/6, which is what? 13 out of 42. So let's take care of that first. 13 divided by 42 times 294,000 gives you 91,000. Okay? What remains? Look at number 2. The remainder, 294,000 minus 91,000 gives us 203,000 for the heirs. The husband. Here I wrote father, should be husband. Okay, now number 3, we have 203,000. The husband gets how much? What's his share? 1/4, because we have son and daughter. We have children. The son and daughter get the remainder, which happens to be 3/4. The son gets 2 shares from that remainder, and each daughter gets 1 share. So let's take care of the father. Number 4. 1/4 of 203,000 is 50,750. What remains is 152,250, which is what? 203,000 minus 50,750. So that's the remainder, 152,250. We divide that by 4 to get the 4 shares, which equals 38,062 and a half. The son gets 2 of those, which is 76,125, and each daughter gets 1 of those, which is 38,062.5. We come to check and add 91,000 plus 50,750 plus 76,125 plus 38,062 and a half 2 times, which equals 294,000. If you're able to get this right, that's very good. Alhamdulillah. Okay? Now just for 5 minutes, we'll take general questions or specific questions regarding inheritance. Then Sheikh Jibali will go over the will, the booklet in a bit more detail, but in a summarized fashion.
Can you clarify the
Yes.
gift? Because the Sheikh confused us. For the boys and the,
What happens if you can't find?
should be same or not?
What do you mean you can't find him?
Gift is different than money. You give money.
It goes to him, and then if they can't find him, it goes to his inheritors if he died, for example. Otherwise, it's owed to him. They put it on the side for him until they find him. Otherwise, money you can't find his owner, they say, and you can't find his relatives, you give it as sadaqah on his behalf. Yes.
Can you repeat the question because we don't know?
You can't find Zayd, the stranger, who she wants to give a seventh and a sixth. So you put it aside for him or for his inheritors or his heirs or his relatives until you find him. If you can't find him, you give sadaqah on his behalf once you give up.
A couple through zina they conceive a child, and they after when they find out the lady is pregnant, they get married. Does that child inherit after? How does that work?
Yeah.
If there is.
If he cries when it means he's alive, he will receive.
Yeah, here they commit zina and then they have a child and then they get married. There's khilaf amongst ulama whether he can be considered a son that goes to his father or not, or he's not considered legitimate regarding this. The majority don't consider him legitimate if they know he's a son of zina.
But this is discussed in the book.
Yeah.
You have it discussed in the book there. Chapter 2.
In the crap. But the baby inherits in general. If he's born and he cries before he's alive, before the person dies.
But that's not his question.
But the issue here is general. But the zina, there's go back to the book and inshallah and I'll discuss the specific of Ibn Zina, the son of from zina, or the daughter from zina. I know, but they don't care about that. That's the thing. If he inherits from how he inherits from his mother, he doesn't inherit from his father. It's not his father. I mean, it's not a legitimate father.
If a woman dies, leaving behind only daughters and sisters,
Yeah.
what is their share?
Let's assume there's 2 daughters and 2 sisters only. Okay. So the daughters get how much? Who knows? 2 daughters and 2 sisters. How much do the 2 daughters get? 2/3. And how much do the sisters get? They get the remainder, yes. And this is because if there's only daughters and sisters, the sisters will get the remainder with the daughters. And this is discussed also in the book. And sisters, any questions? Take 2 from the sisters.
Your question?
What about splitting of the land? If the family does not split the land afterwards with inheritance, because each land becomes shorter, smaller. So what if they leave the land and then just split the amount of resources afterwards?
And so they have land and they don't want to sell the land and split the cash. Plus they each own a share of that land based on the inheritance law. So for example, if it's 2 sons, they each own half the land. If the land brings in money, because they're selling the crops that are on the land, then they split it according to the inheritance. If the land has expenses that they have to pay, they split the expenses based on the inheritance law. So anything that comes in from the land, they split it according to inheritance law. Anything that they have to pay on the land, they have to pay according to inheritance law.
Designate the land, like which is which?
No, they don't. It can be shared, like just general without splitting it into halves or anything.
If a man has one wife with children and another wife whom he's divorced and has children, does the wife who he divorced who has children who are alive get anything?
What do you guys think? The wife who he divorced and she finished her iddah. He died and her iddah was over. What do you think? The wife doesn't inherit because she's divorced, but the children do.
Because they're his children.
Because they're his children, right. Anytime the sisters have a question, just tap the mic so we can call on you.
So they said that I will see it and you give it to a non-Muslim. They mentioned something which I found strange. That I will see can be, once it's been written, if the person who is to receive it leaves Islam, he's not given the wasiyah, which is strange because if he was a non-Muslim to begin with, he can receive it. Whereas, after he's left Islam, at least he was a bit of Muslim before. I know, yeah, but you get understand what I'm saying?
I noted that as well, and I put it in brackets.
المرتد يعني ما ياخذ وصية بس الكافر الأصلي ياخذ وصية. المرتد لأنه حكمه إنه يقتل بس ما يعطوا المال ما Yeah, basically.
حبيبي inheritance zero كمان الوصية كان inheritance by Allah سبحانه وتعالى لا يرث ولا يورث
حتى المرتد حكمه القتل المرتد
قاتل نفسه
بس أنت في بلد غير إسلامي.
هذا هو بس حكمه القتل كانوا قالوا ما يعطى المال بس ماله هو. Anyhow, next question. Any other questions? Yes, sisters.
If a husband writes something for the wife or gives a house or something, the house is in her name. If she dies, will this be distributed to the Islamic ruling or will this go to the husband?
I mean, that's the thing, is who owns the house, whoever owns the house.
Now the wife owns the house.
Okay, the wife owns the house. And who dies?
No, if the wife dies.
Okay.
It was originally bought by the husband, but he wrote it in his wife's name.
When did he write it in his wife's name?
When he bought it.
When he bought it, okay. Not like near his deathbed.
I mean like if the wife dies.
He gave it to the wife or he wrote it in her name when he bought it, then he lived a few more years. Okay, then the wife died, yes. Then?
So what will happen to the property? Will it go to the husband or will it be distributed among the children and the husband?
It will be distributed amongst the relatives of the wife, whether it's the husband, her children, her parents, according to Islamic law, because it's considered hers. As long as he wrote it in her name, then it's like a gift to her. If he does not want that, then he keeps it in his name, then it gets distributed amongst his relatives.
No, but sometimes they write in her name because legally he cannot write record the house in his name.
Okay.
So he records it in his wife's name, like in some countries, for example. So in that case, they write in external contract that this house actually is mine, even though I recorded it in your name. So if this happens, then he is the actual owner, and there should be witnesses to support this, so that the house belongs to him, goes back to him.
Just explain me.
What was that? Sister again?
No, it's nothing like that. It was already written in her name.
He wanted to give it to her as a gift.
Yes.
Okay, then it's her house and it gets distributed amongst her heirs.
So the husband doesn't get anything when she dies?
The husband is one of the people who gets. He gets 1/2 if there's no children and 1/4 if there are children.
But in the West, in the United States, what they do, some rich people, they make agreement with their wife, and they say, okay, if I die, according to Islamically, handle this between my children. This is the only way to avoid.
Right. If this is another way that people distribute in the West the estate is they say all my money is going to my wife to distribute according to Islamic law. Or all my wife is going to my son or anybody even else he trusts to distribute according to Islamic law. This is a different story. This is not ownership. If the husband gives it to the wife, we look at who dies when he died. Who did she leave behind when she died? She left a husband, children, a mother, a father. You split it according to Islamic inheritance law.
We have 15 minutes, can we?
Okay, inshallah we'll, yes, last question.
Yeah, this question is again about property, right? If you have property which maybe you are renting out and you make a company with shares, can you distribute the shares instead of the property?
Again.
If you have property which you are renting out and you're getting an income from, right, and you make it into a business, yeah, with shares, can you distribute the shares instead of the property?
Okay, so basically this goes back to what we said. You don't have to sell the property right now, whether it's a house or a business or whatever. It's once the person dies, it gets distributed amongst his heirs. Okay, according to Islamic law. Whatever money comes in from that gets distributed accordingly. Whatever expenses gets paid according to the shares. So it can be stocks. Stocks means part ownership. So if there's 1,000 stocks, and we said there's 2 sons, each one gets half of the stocks. Okay, he owns half of the stocks. That's the way we deal with it. A stock is basically a part ownership of the company.
I just had a question. How often should it be distributed between the heirs?
What do you mean how often? Whenever it comes in, they own it. Yeah, like let's say there's a monthly income from a house. $100,000 comes in. We look at the heirs that died, that he left behind. They each deserve their portion, whether they want to do it monthly or calculate at the end of the year. But they should do it in a way where there's no incorrect, nothing goes, no mistakes are done. They can put it in a pool and then take it at the end of the year, or they can do it monthly, whatever. But they have to make sure everything is given accordingly. Okay, inshallah, we'll move on to the next section, which is a brief summary of this will and testament.
Okay, we do not have really much time for this because we have to finish within 5 minutes or so. So very quickly, but before I start from the end instead of the beginning, because there's a question that was raised about by the sister about the house being written or recorded in the name of the wife and things like that. And I mentioned that sometimes this is done in a way to bypass certain regulations in some countries, and sometimes for other reasons. So that's why on the last page of the will, which is page 14 of 14, there's a place for the testator to sign, which is the person who writes the will, and the date, and then after that there's a place for the spouse to sign. And over there she or he says, realizing that some localities adopt the community property rule, where 1/2 of the residual estate is considered property of the surviving spouse, I hereby decline such an allocation, declare my full consent to my spouse's last will and testament, and resign my right to challenge it. So this is where the spouse signs off, so that, if he or she is required by the law or allowed by the law to take 1/2 of all the property that is left behind, he or she says, no, I don't want this, but I agree to the distribution according to the law, to the Islamic law. And then this is followed by witnesses, of course, signatures of witnesses. And it allows for 3 witnesses, but in many cases, most cases, you only need 2. So 3 just in case that one of them passes away or something, or is not available. And then there is a page. This is the end of the will, the last page of the will. After that, there is an affidavit which is to be signed in front of the notary public in America, and other countries have similar authorities. And after being notarized, and one copy is usually, it mentions here that one copy should be left with a lawyer or someplace secure, and another copy with the testator himself, so that either side can refer to it and go by its directions. Okay, now, as I said earlier, and I didn't know that, I would have discussed this in more detail at one altogether. I didn't know that I will be talking about it again. This is a very comprehensive will, and it took a lot of time to write it, and many iterations. Like brothers would go to legal authorities and in different countries and verify that this is correct, and then they would tell me what needs to be corrected to improve on it. It doesn't mean that this is final and correct 100%, but it is very thoroughly worked on. In the beginning of the will, there is a sheet where the testator, the writer of the will, writes his information, like birth date, city of residence, county, state, country, and so on, information about him. And then this is commonly written by the following 2 pages or 2+ pages are very commonly written by Islamic testators, by Muslims in their wills, as advice, and first confessing their beliefs, and then emphasizing that to others in written form, and then advising their relatives to abide by Islam and to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is briefly what it is. And then after that, he or she tells them what they should do at the moment of his death, which is also according to the teachings of Islam, and then how to conduct his burial, again according to the teachings of Islam. And then all of this is just statements or guidance that does not require from the testator any practical steps. But after that, he mentions burial, his grave, how the grave is supposed to be done, to be dug, and so on, which will be covered in the next module, inshallah, next week, avoiding violations to Islam. Then after that, he starts making assignments. Article 1 is who will be in charge of the funeral and burial procedures, and then who will be the will executor, and who will be the guardian of underage children if he has underage children. So these are very important to fill, and there are similar tables that, as you see, 3 similar tables which include the name of the person and the backup person if the first person is not there, together with his address and telephone number. Okay, then Article 3 is about assets and liabilities, and this refers to the appendix. So it tells you that there is an appendix appended to this will which explains these in detail. And then contributions and transfers, and that is where if he wants to make contributions up to 1/3, he can do that at this point, or she, and then distribution of the residuary estate, the residual, the remainder, and this should be done according to the table that I referred to earlier, and then he can allocate that, if anything is left over, I guess here, I direct that any residuary estate after the execution of Articles 4, 5, and Section 1 through 5 of Article 6 to the following tax-exempt Islamic organizations. So that is optional if he wants or she wants to give this. And right now I don't remember how this how this goes along with the 1/3 requirement, that it should not, the distributions or the bequeathals should not exceed 1/3.
Yeah, this is the earth. What's remaining is for the waratha.
No, this I'm saying about this here.
Oh, that one, yeah. Here it says within 1/3.
Yeah, after. This is on page 10. Page 10 here. The pages are here.
Page 8.
Yeah, page 10 is here. So this says probably what it means is that if there's nothing, there are certain portions, shares that were not claimed, for example. People are supposed to receive their shares and they disappeared or something like that. And as was mentioned earlier actually by Sheikh Ahmed, that in that case, there is money that is kept on hold for the person, and then after a while, it's to be given away in charity. So probably that's where this comes in. Okay, that's it. Separability is a very important clause which says that, if it's found that any part of this will is invalid, incorrect, for any reason, in any country, then it doesn't mean that the whole thing is invalid. But it means that there is separability between between the articles, and the rest should still hold if this doesn't hold. Okay? And then there's the table of share that I discussed earlier. And that's it. And then the affidavit and the signatures. Okay? So that's it. And as I said, it's very important. As you probably heard in the lecture, I'm not sure if the Sheikh mentioned it, that a person who has something to bequeath and he doesn't do it, then he is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because, or if he has something UCB and he doesn't do it, if he doesn't write his will. Why? Because rights may get lost, for him, for his heirs, or for other people. So that's why it's very important for him to write a will, and all of us should be keen to do it, inshallah. Okay, the time is over. It's exactly 2:30, and we are supposed to be out of this place by now. So,
yeah, he's pointing to
subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair.
Which laptop is this?
Good. And then the flash card, he gave it back to me?
I didn't take it.
That is what? Oh, that's for the hand. Where's my flash card?
In the West to enlighten. No, their purpose, their mirage.
It's supposed to be one per person.
No, for next week.
For what?
Yeah.
Your wife is here?
Sorry?
Your wife is here? There's a sister, I don't know who she is. She says, her name is Safiya Abu Bakr. Do you know any brother here by the name? She says she did not get a copy of the inheritance book.